This is a short video to illustrate how I make pantographs for trains. Now, I must admit that my use of pantographs is extremely limited because I mainly model late 19th, early 20th century Great Western Railway and in Britain, and there weren't many pantographs about then, so you'll just have to bear with the this is the sort of basis of my demo layout, which I've called the Twinnels, which I've mentioned before, and you can see over here in the distance the two of the badminton class locomotives which I'm currently working on, and there'll be at least two more in the range when I finish. But what I want to draw your attention to in this video are these three vehicles here: the Elettromatrici, which is the power car, and then two carriages behind. And these operated on the San Marino railway for just 12 years, between 1932 and 1944, when the railway was largely destroyed by Allied bombing. And it ran from Rimini to the little hilltop republic of San Marino. And I should stress that it has been partly restored. 800 metres of it running into the tunnel at San Marino has been restored, and it's a fantastic project by the local community, and well worth a visit if you're in that part of Italy. So westwards from Rimini up into the hills, Rimini on the Adriatic coast, about 2/3 of the way up Italy. Now, the reason why I'm using this is because it's the only time I've ever made pantographs, but they're pretty straightforward to make, as you'll see when I get into Gmax. And just to demonstrate that they do actually work. Now, I don't have the correct catenary set up for this. I've just knocked this up quickly. As you can see, I mean, there's no ballast or anything, and all the passengers on my Great Western Railway are Victorian. And so this is really just to demonstrate the pantographs, just to have something to show you. And the catenary here is actually set too high for the San Marino, and that San Marino railway was 950 millimeters, that's right, isn't it? 95 centimeters, yeah, gauge, so basically 3 foot. And as I say, it ran and has several stations, beautiful buildings, and I've modelled several of them. If you want to have a look at my stuff for the San Marino Railway, this is my website. And Italian railways, that's the Val Gardner Steam Railway. Here's the San Marino, and here you'll see those vehicles there, the third and the brake third, and the motor car here. The San Marino station tunnel, which was really elegant indeed, and a standard tunnel there. Serravalle station, plus the goods shed, lavatories, and a concrete fence, which was very typical of the line. And San Marino station itself, which was absolutely superb, but unfortunately hasn't survived, and it's just a car park now where that terminus was. So anyway, that's San Marino. Well worth a visit, and certainly you can have a look on YouTube, and you'll find several videos there about San Marino, so I would thoroughly recommend watching those, and give them a thumbs up, because they've done wonderful job. Okay, back to the pantographs. So this is my sole example of pantographs, and as I remember it, you used to be able to go down here and raise the pantographs here. This is in Trainz and New Era, by the way, I'm recording this. But then I realised that it's actually up here. I'm going to raise the front pantograph. There it goes. And the rear pantograph. There it goes. And you see it's short of the wire, because I haven't got the correct catenary on this. But that's basically the functionality which I'm going to demonstrate to you in Gmax. Anyway, I'll just lower the rear one, because it would only have the one at the front of direction of travel. These could be driven in either direction, these motor cars, and So let's just get this one on the go, and off it goes. And the classic white and blue of European light railway colours. No passengers. I had to put a driver in at each end. I suppose these days, I mean, I made this about 15 years ago, so I suppose today what I would do is I'd make the driver a load, and you just select which end you would like the driver put in. Just load up a driver. There we are, ticking along quite nicely. And I know that you know, it's something quite different, but it does demonstrate, okay, it's not touching the wire, so I've got to bring the wire down, and that's because this is narrow gauge, and I think the wire height was slightly lower. Anyway, it was very specific for this particular line, but as I say, built in 1932 and wonderfully restored. The motor car has been restored, found in a tunnel. It was left in a tunnel for about 70 years from 1944 onwards, and then brilliantly restored by the enthusiasts for the San Marino Railway, and now comes out and you know, on special occasions, it is used for tourists and that, just to run into the tunnel and out again. The tunnels were used, as I mentioned, by the inhabitants in 1944 as bomb shelters against the Allied bombing, which was as the Nazi forces, the German forces, were retreating northwards. And on a personal note, my dad was actually there in the battle, and he went into San Marino in his armoured car, his stag-hound armoured car, and was part of the Allied force to bring medical supplies and help and foodstuffs and all that to the people of San Marino after their liberation. So that's what I'm going to, here is the pantograph, and that's what I'm going to show you, how I made that. So before I show you in Gmax, which is behind Content Manager here, Trainz Content Manager, with nothing opened in it yet, I just want to show you the rail motors config text file. So we'll just open it up. There we are, and here's all the blurb, and here's the what was then the Facebook group. I think it's probably still the same, and Filippo Ricci, who I did the work for, and donated it towards their project. So 3 foot 2 inches, there we are, about just over 3 foot. So there's a little potted history there, and you'll see here, this is the normal makeup. With it's got its own engine sound, interior, of course, engine spec. I'm not sure if that was bespoke for this, but anyway, that's the one for this. I'm not sure about the engine sound. I think that was fairly generic. Doors, there's the night mode and the attachments. So really they're attached, the drivers. Maybe what I should have done is put them on as loads. Anyway, there we are. It's passengers and the bogies. I'm just looking down here, looking up and down. I've got to remind myself. There it is, pantograph. So that's the entry for the pantograph, and so it's giving it the KUID for the pantograph. You can see 57000. That means it's the first one in a series. I don't think there's a 57001. I'm just looking down here. You're welcome to download this and open it up and have a look. Bogies, queues. No, I thought there was a separate entry which actually listed where these were to be placed, but obviously not. So we'll have a look at that in a moment. But first of all, let me just close this. So I'll just submit the edits, although I haven't edited it, and let's open up the pantograph. You'll see here, by the way, that I'm currently working on a GWR AEC omnibus as a static model there. More of that to come. And I've also made some iron gates, but anyway. Pantograph, here we are. And remember on this one it all had to be in metric. And you can see there I've modelled the pantograph, an individual pantograph, and we've got a number of dummies there which are animated. And essentially all I've done is I've created the model of the pantograph and then added the dummies with their animation, and then they have the whole lot has been exported as a separate model into Trainz. In fact, I think it's in Content Manager it comes under a component. I mean, this is all everything I've got installed, so really I should just show my GWR. No, it's going to be under San Marino, isn't it? As you might imagine. Maybe not. I should maybe have looked this up before I started recording. And it's number 5700, so it's somewhere here. Maybe it's under P for pantograph, SF, and then P for pantograph. Pearson driving, no. Under S for San Marino. There we are, there it is. Because there's the bogies, and that's the interior file, and there's the pantograph. There we are. So you export it as a separate file, and it's attached in Trainz. I'll show you on the carriage where it's attached in a minute. Right, so let's have a look at this. So it is animated, but I'll step you through that in a moment. Let's have a quick look at the animation. Up. It's just going up. You don't have to do the down, because all it does is it runs the animation in the reverse. So let's step through that a frame at a time. And it's a 30 frame, I think. Maybe not even that. No, it's a 15 frames. 15 frame animation. So when you go to the animate button, rather to the, this one, isn't it? Here we are, the time configuration. It's just a length. Start time is 0, length is 15, so that's end time is 15. The total frame count is 16 because it's 15 plus 0, making 16. So that's all you do. You do it for half. Normally you do 30 for animating wheels and that sort of thing, but this one you only do 15 frames. That's really quite important. Well, I'm assuming that you know how to create a model in Gmax, so I'm not going to go into that, just to say that what you need to do is have a pretty good plan, photographs, whatever, diagram of what your pantograph must look like, but keep it fairly simple. And then you must consider all the parts that move. And so if we have a look, if I take away all of those are all our dummies, animated dummies, and I'm just going to hide them. You can see they're all highlighted here. So that's what you start with. You start with the pantograph static and how it will appear, and then you start to animate. So the first thing you want to do, I think, I'm trying to remember how I did this, as I say, it was 15 years ago, so please bear with me. Yes, the first, I can see now what I did. The first thing I did is the sections which actually touch the catenary wire, they just need to go vertically up. So I added, first of all, this, which is, I've just called it as a dummy, I've called it, you always call the dummy B.R. something, B.R. pantograph. So if I just, what I'll do is I'll just select those and hide them. So that's the, having made my pantograph, the first thing I did was added a dummy, which was at the center of all the bits that are just going to go vertically up, move vertically up. Let's have a look at the side view over here. Gives you a bit more of an idea. So we're just looking at a side view. Let's actually see the and this is just going to go vertically up. So I'm going to step through it. Now ignore these bits moving here. It's just this bit that I would have started my animation. So I'm just going to step through that. Where are we? Here it goes. Ignore the bits either side. So it has to go up, and it has to go up to the height that you want your pantograph to be, and then that's at number frame 15, and so now our cycle brings us back to frame 0. So that's pretty straightforward, first of all, and that would have left these pieces without any movement. So the next thing I did was to bring in the dummies, which will move this bar, or these bars here, and this one, not the lower ones, the upper ones, and let's unhide by name. I think these are these two here, be our upper 0 and upper 1, and there they are. Look, because it's gonna rotate from there essentially, and let's see how that worked out. Moving it up a frame at a time, they are moving upwards, but also note they are rotating as well, because if they just moved upwards, that angle would remain the same, whereas the angle has to open as they expand, as the pantograph is raised. There we are. And then the then I would have dealt with the lower two. So let's wrong one, sorry. So lower, I mean, my brilliant naming. Let's unhide, and they're here, and they're going to stay in that position. But again, so they're not going to go up, because obviously they'd be separating from the lowest frame. But they are going to rotate slightly. Let's step through that. There we are, and you can see they're rotating. In some ways it's a bit like doing coupling rods on a steam locomotive. There's a bit of that to it, I think, what I found. So that's all good. Now we're going to pull it all together, because what we need to do, let's unhide the rest of it, which is this, which I've called BR main. That's the main dummy, and that's what I've just got into the habit of calling it. Now everything has to be attached to the BR main dummy, and if we look back here, we can see it's at that good old favourite spot, 0, 0, 0. Okay, so that's our point of origin, and that is going to be, so 0, 0, 0, 0 is right in there. So on the railcar, there's going to be an attachment point, not a dummy, an attachment point, which is calling for this model to be attached using that dummy at that point on the top of the carriage, so it's correctly positioned. However, we haven't quite finished yet, because there has to be a hierarchy. There's no good it just putting that in and saying, right, attach the whole thing, because you'll find you've got nothing, because you have to tell these other dummies that they are daughters, as it were, of the main, and any other unanimated part of the model, such as this bit down here, also has to come under BR main. So if we have a look at our selection list, but this time use display subtree, then BR main is the furthest on the left. It's at the origin, and if we scroll down, everything else is indented to some degree or another, either one step or two steps. No, that's one step, sorry, or two steps here, or even three steps there. So that's 1, 2, 3. And in fact, what I've done is I've used these lower dummies as parents of these upper ones, to make absolutely sure it's all working together. So in other words, in fact, the way I did this was the opposite to what I've just described to you. I did do this first, but then I put these in, and then I added these afterwards as daughters of these. So because when that gets when we step through it, that angle there would also affect this dummy and all the things that are connected to that dummy. So you have to, as again, I say, like again, it's a bit like doing coupling rods on a loco. You have to work through a strict hierarchy. So this is going to be the top of the hierarchy, then these, and then this will be a parent, a daughter of this parent, which is a daughter of the main, which doesn't move. And then this one, let's find that on the list with our subtree. Now that is the pantograph itself, and it's a direct daughter of main. So long as you get this hierarchy correct, then you should have no problem at all in getting your pantograph to operate correctly. And it's always rather satisfying to see something like this function going up and down like a frog's hind legs. Okay, so I'm going to open up now. No, we're not going to do anything to that. I've got to try and remember. As you can see here, look, 2010 was when I did these. So bear with me here. Motor coach, there we are. I'm hoping this is going to show me the last version, the actual version that I exported. In fact, it's 2014. It must have been something I needed to correct. So there's the motor coach. That's looking lovely, isn't it? I thought they were lovely vehicles. I really did. And you can see all the attachment points here, and that includes things like this one, limb back, so that's showing the limit of the back of the model and the limit of the front. And we've got lots of passenger attachment points. We've got a couple of bogie attachment points. I'm not sure what that one is at the front there. Oh, that's up for the lamp. What's that called? Light, yeah. And you'll find all that if you want to download this from my website and rummage through the config. You're very welcome to do so. But the key ones I wanted to show you are these two attachment points. There we are, one at the front, one at the back. A pantograph 0. So that's where those models are going to get attached onto this. So when they're a dependency of this motor coach. So just as the driver is a dependency, I'm sure he's in there somewhere. Let's have a look, see if we can find him. There we are, driver figure. So he's a dependency. So you can't run this without all of the dependencies. And the driver figure's one of them. And of course bogies. And also what I use is a doors attachment point, because the doors are loaded separately. They're separate in the motor rail bus model, and they sit in there and slide back and forth. So it's quite a modern vehicle for its time. I mean, it certainly was cutting edge technologically. So there we are. I hope that's given you an idea of how to make a pantograph. They're not difficult, just experiment, but the key thing is to get that hierarchy correct. And I think it's only right that we should finish the video by once again enjoying the pantograph going up and down, or going up anyway and then flicking back down on the animation. So that's what you're aiming for, and it's not complex once you sit down and think about it and plan out how you're going to do that. But it shouldn't be too difficult a process for you. So I hope that's been helpful, and to show you the basics of making a pantograph. And the only other thing, of course, is making sure that the height of the pantograph on top of the rail motor or whatever it is that you're modeling is precisely set to the height of the wire of the catenary that you're going to use. And that was the only thing in my demonstration in St. Twinnell's, which didn't really tie in, because I just used any old catenary I could find momentarily, because San Marino rail car and carriages is not going to be a regular feature of my turn of the century Great Western demonstration layout at St Twynhams, somewhere out in the west. So I hope that's been of use. If you have any questions, by all means do post them and I'll aim to answer them. But good modelling and good luck.